The word of the Lord that came to Joel, the son of Pethuel. Hear this, you old men, and give ear, all you inhabitants of the land. Hath this been in your days, or even in the days of your fathers? Tell your children of it, and let your children tell their children, and their children another generation. That which the palmer worm hath left, hath the locust eaten, and that which the locust hath left, hath the cankerworm eaten. And that which the cankerworm hath eaten, hath the caterpillar eaten. Awake, ye drunkards, and weep, and howl, all you drinkers of wine, because of the new wine. For it is cut off from your mouth. For a nation is come up upon my land, strong and without number, whose teeth are the teeth of a lion, and he hath the cheek teeth of a great lion. He hath laid my vine waste, and barked my fig tree. He hath made it clean bare, and cast it away. The branches thereof are made white. Lament, like a virgin girded with sackcloth for the husband of her youth. The meat offering, the drink offering, it is cut off from the house of the Lord. The priest, the Lord's ministers, mourn. The field is wasted, the land mourneth, for the corn is washed, the new wine is dried up, the oil languisheth. Be ye ashamed, O you husbandmen, howl, O you vine dressers, for the wheat and for the barley, because the harvest of the field is perished. The vine is dried up, and the fig tree languishes. The pomegranate tree, the palm tree also, the apple tree, even all the trees of the field are withered, because joy is withered away from the sons of men. Gird yourselves and lament, ye priests, howl, ye ministers of the altar, come, lie all night in sackcloth, you ministers of God, for the meat offering and the drink offering is withholden from the house of your God. Sanctify ye a feast, call a solemn assembly, gather the elders of all the inhabitants of the land into the house of the Lord your God, and cry unto the Lord. Alas, for the day of the Lord is at hand, and as a destruction from the Almighty shall it come. Is not the meat cut off before your eyes, yea, joy and gladness from the house of your God? The seed is rotten under their clods, and the garners are laid desolate, the barns are broken down, for the corn is withered. How did the beasts groan, and the herds of cattle are perplexed, because they have no pasture, yea, the flocks of sheep are made desolate. O Lord, to thee will I cry, for the fire hath devoured the pastures of the wilderness, and the flame hath burned all the trees of the field. The beasts of the field cry also unto thee, for the rivers of water are dried up, and the fire hath devoured the pastures of the wilderness. Joel chapter 1. Greetings. Welcome to the broadcast. I'm Sean, your host. Website is found at www.scriptureandprophecy.com. That's where you go to support this work. It's 100% listener supported. It cannot happen without your support. So please consider becoming a monthly Patreon subscriber and supporting this work. That reading from the book of Joel has just been speaking to me for the last couple of weeks. Matter of fact, this week's devotional will be based on that first chapter that or inspired rather by that first chapter that I just read. That'll be out on Sunday, and for Patreon subscribers, it'll be out probably Friday morning, so be looking for that. And then the written version will show up on your email if you're subscribed to the email list come Saturday. Well, today the headline I want to look at is 10 plagues that are hitting our planet simultaneously. Before I read that, I just want to point out that this locust plague is really starting to get a lot of attention now. I'm seeing all kinds of headlines that say it's like it's out of the book of Exodus. It's like I'm seeing headlines like, has one of the seals of Revelation been opened? I'm seeing those kind of headlines in mainstream areas, which I just find interesting. One headline about the locust says something like out of the book of Exodus, Locust armies are devouring entire farms in Kenya in as little as 30 seconds. This is quite the plague. It's also apparently moved into China. So it's a plague that's moving and it's devouring entire farms. I really expected 2020 to be one of those years to remember, as I pointed out several times already this year. Of course, it's only February. But I was thinking of political and social issues. I was not thinking about the plagues wreaking havoc on our planet as they appear to be doing right now. So I want to look at this article, well written, from themostimportantnews.com, 10 plagues that are hitting our planet simultaneously. Let's take a look at this article. This is the main thing I wanted to share with you this morning. By the way, we cover this stuff not to cause fear or to stress, but to keep our eyes open to the reality of the times that we are living in, or at least approaching. Because when you see the times that you're living in, you see the times you're approaching, then you're more apt to keep your focus and your hope on Jesus and less on the world. And that's kind of my mission with these types of podcasts, and really all my podcasts. But when we're talking about end time stuff, it's always to point you towards Jesus and his return, never to cause great fear. So let's take a look at this article. It says, all of a sudden, really crazy things are starting to happen all over the world. Giant swarms of locusts are absolutely devastating entire regions. Extremely unusual storms are confounding meteorologists, earthquakes, and volcanic activity, both on the rise. And 5 very dangerous diseases are sweeping across the globe. So far in 2020, it has just been one thing after another. And many are speculating about what could be ahead if events continue to escalate. The other day, my wife mentioned that one of her friends suggested that I put together a list of all the weird stuff that has been taking place, and so that is what I've decided to do. The following list is a list of 10 plagues that are hitting our planet simultaneously. So here's the 10 plagues that he's written down that are taking place right now around the globe. First one, as we have mentioned, armies of locusts. It says, as I detailed the other day, swarms of locusts the size of major cities have been devouring entire farms in Africa in as little as 30 seconds. These swarms have also been spreading throughout the Middle East, and now we have learned that they have reached China. Number 2, extremely bizarre weather patterns. It is almost as if virtually all the old rules have suddenly been thrown out the window. An all-time record 209-mile-an-hour wind gust just hit California, and absolutely crazy storms are happening all over the planet. For example, just check out what just took place in Australia. By the way, it seems like Australia is getting hit with a lot of weird stuff too. They had the major fires as an example. This says Sydney has been thrown into chaos by a devastating storm that saw 2 months of rainfall in just 2 days, forcing mass evacuations, leaving 150,000 homes without power, and prompt warning not to drive to work. The storm dumped 400 millimeters of rain on the city over the weekend, causing mayhem for commuters on Monday morning, with roads blocked, ferries canceled, and trains suffering major delays across the network. Number 3 is unprecedented flooding. We are seeing unusual flooding all over the world right now, and the flooding that is devastating the southern U.S. at this moment is being called unprecedented. In Jackson, Mississippi, hundreds of residents either watched their homes flood over the weekend or worried their residents would soon be drenched as the Pearl River crested Monday at 36.8 feet, its third highest level ever recorded, behind only 1979 and a 1983. Calling the Jackson flood historic and unprecedented, Mississippi Governor Tate Reeves said it on Sunday. on a Sunday press conference that we do not anticipate this situation to end anytime soon. It'll be days before we're out of the woods and the water recedes. Number 4, major earthquakes. Really big earthquakes are happening with such frequency now that it is very difficult for me to write about them all. For example, a magnitude 7.7 quake recently struck off the coast of Jamaica, but I have been so busy writing about other disasters I have not even mentioned it. A magnitude 7.7 earthquake struck Tuesday about 80 miles from Jamaica, shaking people in the Caribbean as far away as Miami. A tsunami of 0.4 feet was recorded in the Cayman Islands at Georgetown, but no tsunami was observed at Port Royal, Jamaica, or Puerto Plata, the Dominican Republic. Number 5, unusual volcanic eruptions. Seismic activity has been rising all over the globe, and over the past couple of months, we have seen volcanoes all over the world pop off like firecrackers. One of the most notable eruptions we have seen in recent days was the most powerful eruption of Mount Merapi, which is the most powerful in 90 years, apparently. One of Indonesia's most active volcanoes, Mount Merapi, just experienced its most powerful eruption since 1930. The eruption reportedly took place on a Thursday and was caught on video displaying a powerful and terrifying eruption, showing the moment the crater exploded and launched lava and ash an estimated 2,000 meters into the air, forcing local residents to stay inside of the designated no-go zone. Of course, number 6 is the coronavirus. Needless to say, the coronavirus outbreak in China has been getting more headlines than anything else on this list. The numbers continue to rise, and many are speculating that this could potentially become the worst global pandemic since the Spanish flu pandemic of 1918. In a desperate attempt to keep the truth from getting out, the World Health Organization is asking the major social media companies to censor their users. Of course they are. Number 7. The African swine fever. Pig Ebola has already wiped out millions upon millions of pigs in China, and it has now spread to more than 40 other countries. You know what's interesting is it seems like China is at the center of all of this right now. I mean, the coronavirus, the African swine fever, the plague of locusts has just moved, or has now moved its way into China as well. That's just very interesting. Number 8. The H1N1 swine flu. Unlike the African swine fever, the H1N1 swine flu can actually kill humans. In fact, it has already killed more people outside of China than the coronavirus outbreak has. For instance, 13 people in Taiwan died from the virus in one recent week alone. Number 9, the H5N1 bird flu. The strain of bird flu caused a massive global scare a number of years ago and is now experiencing stunning resurgence. China has had to kill thousands of chickens so far, and experts are warning that this outbreak could just be getting started. And number 10 is the H5N8 bird flu. This strain is different from the H5N1 bird flu, but many believe that it's even more frightening and has started to pop up in numerous places around the globe, and experts were really surprised when it recently made an appearance in Germany. So this is the 10 plagues that apparently are hitting the world right now. Again, don't let this cause you to fear, but let it cause you to open your eyes and think, man, maybe there is something about the times that I'm living in right now. Maybe I should be paying attention. Maybe I should be fasting and praying and seeking God's face more diligently right now. Let's move on to a couple other headlines before we wrap up the show today. In other news regarding China and artificial intelligence, so this article from the Daily Star says China to deploy undercover robot spies who will blend into the human population. Of course, this is great speculation on the part of the authors of this, but the point that I'm not going to read the article, but the point that I just want to make is that the advancement in AI, the fact that this is even conceivable now, the fact that there's these perverse brothels set up where it's robots, robot dolls, and things like that, and that they can actually begin to pass for a human being is troubling. And so the thought that these kind of things are conceivable, that that one country might put in a robot spy into the population, like that's just out of this world crazy to me. Just out of this world to think that could be a possibility. But maybe it is. Maybe it really is a possibility. And again, usually what's released to the public when it comes to technology is far beyond. It's reached far beyond that. As far as the government and military agencies are concerned. The last thing I wanted to share with you is this growing issue with witchcraft in the United States of America. And so, first of all, let me start. I've got two headlines here. The first one says, "Witchcraft continues to rise in America as nation grows darker." So let me just read the excerpt from this article. Julia Diaz says she was having trouble not listening to my thoughts. Sorry, I kind of read into your headline a little bit, she told me. For the third time that August afternoon, she answered one of my admittedly not unpredictable questions about her witchcraft seconds before I had the chance to ask it. She was drinking a homemade grounding tea in her apartment and converted Victorian home in Jersey City, New Jersey, under a dream catcher and within sight of what appeared to be a human skull. We were surrounded by nearly 400 houseplants, the early smell of incense, and according to Diaz, several of my ancestral spirit guides who had followed me in. You actually have a nun, Diaz informed me. I don't know where she comes from, and I'm not going to ask her. Diaz describes herself as a seer capable of reading auras and connecting with the other side. A plant whisperer who can communicate with her succulents, and one in long line of healers in her family, which traces its roots to Cuba, the indigenous Taino people who settled in parts of the Caribbean. She is also a professional witch. Diaz sells anointing oils and intention-infused body product in her online store, instructs more than 8,900 witches enrolled in her online school, and leads witchy workshops that promise to leave attendees feeling magical, with some explicit words at the end of that. Diaz, the author of the best-selling book Witchery, Embrace the Witch Within, earned more than $500,000 from her magic work and was named Best Witch. Yes, there are rankings by Spirit Guide magazine. This thought is extremely, and it's been growing for a long time in the United States of America. And the headline, I believe, is accurate when it says that witchcraft continues to rise in America as the nation grows darker. Now, let me give you a headline that I just thought was absolutely absurd and just a complete oxymoron. Christian witches, yes, you heard that, Christian witches, to host annual convention in Salem on Easter weekend. First of all, let me just start by saying this. You cannot be both a witch and a Christian. That is absurd. It goes against everything the Bible teaches about staying away from this type of behavior. So it kills me how you have all these groups that call themselves Christians, and yet they're Christian plus a perversion. They're Christian plus the witchcraft. They're Christian plus whatever it is. They're not Christians. It just frustrates me. But they use this word, and that's another thing. You know, the word Christian has become just such a terrible adjective because people place it in front of anything. says, yes, Christian witches are a thing, and they're gathering in Salem, Massachusetts this Easter weekend for their annual convention. Oh. It's ridiculous. I'm just reading through the article here a little bit to see if I even want to read any more. I think the headline speaks for itself. I don't want to get into it. I just wanted to point out the absurdity, the ridiculousness of it all, and just where we're going. So we have a great increase in this behavior to the point now where we're having what they would call Christian witches convention. It's just ridiculous. Another thing that's growing that I'm seeing a lot of headlines about is exorcism and demon possession. And there's some, I'm not going to get into any of the articles, but I'm seeing a lot of those, and it's been coming up quite often these days, where we're seeing this growing increase of demonic possession and requests for exorcism to take place. And so we're living in a time right now where apostasy is running wild. I mean, we have Christian witch conventions in the United States of America. That's absolutely ridiculous. We have rising demonic possession. We have strange plagues attacking the planet right now. I mean, we're living in a very interesting time. We have there's all kinds of issues with peace. There's economic issues. There's a lot going on. And I'm not saying that we should focus all of our attention on this and be a people who are just constantly looking at the headlines, constantly being afraid. Like, that is definitely not what I'm suggesting. All I'm suggesting is that we take inventory of the fact that these things are taking place, and that we need to get or continue to be very diligent and serious about our walk and our mission on earth, which is to share the good news of Jesus Christ and to do the work of the kingdom. And so I hope that this work that I'm doing here is the work of the kingdom. I hope that it's piercing people's hearts and blessing people and giving people hope in Jesus Christ, while at the same time opening people's eyes to the reality of the times that we're living in. That's kind of my goal. The Bible studies, all of it, that's the mission. That is the mission. And so I hope you're being blessed by it. Well, that's really all I got for you this morning, friends. I just kind of wanted to share a couple of these headlines and just acknowledge these things are taking place, specifically the plagues that are hitting right now. And what this should really drive us to do, other than the things I just mentioned, is drive us to pray. Drive us to our knees and ask God for grace, ask God for mercy, ask God for peace, ask God, to remember His people. Those are the kind of things that I'm praying for right now, every morning before I get started. As those very issues, God, have mercy on us. God, remember all your people, all the people who call out to the name of your Son, Jesus. Remember us. Have mercy on us. Count us worthy to escape all the things coming upon the earth and to stand before the Son of Man. Have mercy on us, Father. All right. That's the podcast for this morning. Lord willing, I will be back with you soon with our devotional video, which will be on YouTube as of Sunday. You will also be able, if you're listening to this via podcast, you can also just go to the website on Sunday and click on devotional, and you'll see the written devotional along with the video. The goal is to try to get these out every week, but that may not be realistic. But that's kind of the plan. But I'll keep you updated, and you'll get an email if you're on the email list, letting you know that that's available. Please consider supporting this work by going to scriptureandprophecy.com and clicking on the Donate and Support tab. Peace and grace be with all of you. And until next time, God bless.